Our listeners, thank you for joining us once again. This is Debates Never Die. I'm your host, Khanya Mosetlhi. I am joined by Thabani. I'm joined by Mvu. And first things first, we have yet another Manchester United win. I don't like how these are starting right now. Thabani, I think you are best suited to lead us. This is your moment to shine, sir. Your team's won 2-0 against Conte Spurs. How are you feeling?
Uh, Glad to be here. Glad to be here after another victory. Look, it's quite simple. What's going on in Man United? The players are finally, or rather, no, that win belongs to Erik ten Hag. That win is all Erik ten Hag. Not giving up on his players, but the players turning up for their manager as well. That game, I made a joke saying I haven't seen United attack that much since the Fergie days. But literally, there was so much intent. There was like a commitment to exploit Spurs' weakness, which is that they don't like possession. And there was just there was real effort to win that game. That's what I really enjoyed seeing. But like I said, that win is all on my manager Erik ten Hag, because the stuff that he's had to deal with, the negative results, the press in camp, in-house problems, like he's dealt with everything so well. I was really thinking about it. So that win is all on him. And another 3 points, it kind of frustrates me that we drew to Newcastle. If you're going to beat Spurs, then you might as well beat Newcastle and get 6 points from those two games. But 4 points from those two games, going into the Chelsea game, I'm feeling good.
Okay. Were you as impressed by United's win as Thabani seems to be?
Certainly, I was. That was probably their most dominant display I've seen in a long time. Yeah, like I was quite pleasantly surprised, but also I guess it's Spurs and not to take anything away from United, but Spurs haven't really played well in any of the games. They've just sat back and tried to play on the counter attack. So I guess we expected something like that, but I was mightily impressed with United. I think the way they were pressing was impressive. Their build up to attacks, they had so many shots in that game. Like I think like the first half was something crazy, like 28. And like Tab said, like every time I was watching, they were attacking. There's really intent in their play. I'm more impressed just by how United have, or maybe short. I really think United have been keeping clean sheets, haven't they? Like Martinez and Varane have been putting in a shift. I think that's probably what's impressed me a lot more as well, is that they seem a lot more defensively sound than they were under the previous two managers. Yeah, so
I mean,
I think
it's
that was
not hard, but true. They do.
It isn't hard. It isn't hard, but I think it's still very impressive. They probably have more clean sheets than us this season, so I think that says something. Yeah, so very impressed. Shout out to United. Yeah.
Personally, I think they did really well, and I was impressed. But I do think that they probably couldn't have played a side that would play into their hands more so than Spurs. In the same way, when Arsenal beat Spurs, the bigger game was still, okay, how are we going to play against Liverpool? Because, as you said before, we yet to see Spurs really put in that great a shift against any significant team. Their best game was probably against Leicester. So I don't know. I think we should still temper expectations of them. Like they seem to, I don't know. They aren't as serious as we'd like them to be yet.
But well, aside from that, would you not say that, like, United, never mind that, but United have just been gaining momentum. Like, they've been winning and winning. Besides that game against was the City, okay, they drew, but like I feel like they just feel like there's this feeling that they're in a much better place now than they were last season. But they're edging towards top four, and it looks like they could have a real run. Where beginning of the season, I would have not even put them in the top four. Where now, I can see myself changing my tune.
Okay. No, look, I think we can all agree that United made significant progress. I think ultimately that's what that result shows more than anything else. It's just don't know. Like I think evaluating Spurs performances, especially in away games, is difficult. Last season at Old Trafford, Spurs let Ronaldo score a hat trick. The same Ronaldo who stepped up and left at the end of the game last night. So I don't know, man. Like it's hard for me to really position them. But since we're on the topic of Ronaldo, Thabani, how are you feeling about your favorite number 7?
CR700. Thank God he reached 700. Thanks for everything. It's time to go. It's time to go because that was unacceptable. I think, okay, from a fan's perspective, and not even a fan, I'm talking about a stadium goer's perspective. We're winning 2-0 against the team that was, third in the league? A team, against Antonio Conte's Tottenham, not just any Tottenham, Antonio Conte's Tottenham, and we know about the fanfare and should Conte be in the other dugout, all of that stuff. And one of you just mentioned it feels like that felt like a progress win. It felt like a performance that signals progress. But there's just an element of togetherness, and it just feels like there's literally one person in this team who doesn't want to be there. And if that's the case, go now. Because last season it was a case of, the Ronaldo out people were always met with the response, "Well, what are you going to do without him? Where are the goals going to come?" But that was that argument existed because we didn't really have the manager to find goals elsewhere. There was no backup plan, and we can get into who was let go and obviously the players who are no longer available, but there was no backup plan. It's clear now that there is a way to find goals without the guy, and if he's not prepared to be a bit part player in this United team, we will be fine without him. So, but yeah, it's so disheartening because it's one thing we know how fragile this dressing room is. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to work that out. But for the first time in years, this squad feels together and feels like they're all pulling in the same direction. It feels like they're starting to enjoy playing with each other. And then it's like one step forward, one step back at the moment. So mightily unimpressed. Cristiano, legend, thank you for everything. Enjoy sporting, enjoy the MLS. Go get your goals, man. But we'll be fine without you.
Do you think that this has changed the perception of him as a United legend at all? Like, do you care that he's done this at all, or is it just about where you guys are right now?
This has an element of final straw to it. I think as a United legend, he got a whole bunch of free passes given to him when he walked in the door at the beginning of last season, and bit by bit he started cashing them in with the tantrums, with the not showing up for the City game. What happened in preseason, and this just feels like you've now used up your last legend card, and this won't fly. Hence the club statement, hence the manager addressing it, and Fergie was at the game last week presenting him a trophy. Like, clearly this is a lot bigger to him than it is for anyone else, because anyone with a bit of team, like awareness for the team and the situation, like not even a week after Fergie hands you a trophy at Old Trafford, you are walking like he would have never done that 12 years ago or however long, or 13 years ago. He would have never done that under that manager. You know what I'm saying? So this genuinely feels like the final straw, and it's now a case of let's get to the World Cup, let's get through the Christmas period, and do some sort of termination. But yeah, I'm over it.
No, I'm glad we're all here. I think this is how you need to end. I think United fans generally were far too attached to a player who left in 2009. I think this will bring you all a lot of healing. Like that the chapter really is done. He mustn't come back as a coach. There should be no further, like United fans shouldn't be as attached to him as they have been, because of how long ago he left. But yeah, no.
Why do you think that matters? Like,
no, because I think the fact that United fans were as excited for him to even return to the club as they were didn't make complete sense. I mean, what's happened to the club since with Greenwood and like all the other nasty stuff that's happened around the club, he didn't make sense in the first place. Like, that type of signing kind of changed where United were expected to be. They changed how they played. In a world where Greenwood was, I don't know if I should go down this route specifically, but in a world where Greenwood wasn't the person that he was, United Ronaldo at best was coming in to destabilize that squad, and he kind of has anyway. Even though everything still went his way, he was catered to the way he was. He's the reason Cavani ended up having to leave the club. Like all the building blocks, and granted that these are building blocks, basically like stuff you'd see out of like the Three Little Pigs building houses out of straw and things that all had put in place. We're blown away. We're blown away by Ronaldo's arrival. Like everything about it kind of had the feel of something that was too big for the club, and the fact that this is how it's ended under the new coach, where he has to essentially exile him, it's just kind of embarrassing. Like United just shouldn't have gone for him. It terrible decision, and worse than it was last season when Ole was losing 4-2 to Watford. Like it's gotten to a worse place than that. Granted, the club is in a better place, but like United and Ronaldo's like union just didn't make sense.
You know, all of this that was said last season as well has been clouded by all the goals you're scoring last season, but people don't factor in why he was the guy scoring all those goals. So it's just funny to me that we're here now, and people will see it as like discrediting what he was, like the amazing things he did last season. But there's more to that meets the eye than just, you know, oh, he scored 18 goals at 36. That's so amazing. So it's, yeah, it feels like a, I guess, a full circle from how we all initially felt. Well, I think people that viewed it this way, how we felt when the signing was made. It was like, wow, it's great, but
like practically, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, we felt a problem brewing, and it's the case now.
Yeah. But no, what other significant factors happened this weekend? Liverpool versus City. We're a bit removed from that at this moment in time. So I think a little bit of the excitement might have faded. But how did you feel about that, Mvu?
I think, well, I was impressed with Liverpool. Like that was a good performance. Considering how badly they've been to their standards this season. Yeah. They shut me up. I was ready. But I also think it's just one of those games. Like it always feels weird saying this about Pep because he wins, but these are like small examples of, I think, him overcomplicating things when they don't have to be that way. De Bruyne was isolated for most of that first half because he was playing so far out. I know he's probably has more advanced roles over like as the years have progressed, but there was still always someone ahead of him when attacking, and he was the only one there. So I just feel like those small things took so much away from City's game that they could have hurt Liverpool. Like, because the chances that they did get was either through him or Foden, but him playing the balls through. So I just think like Pep also messed up. He messed up. I don't know what he was thinking. But congrats to Liverpool. I think they performed really well. Like there wasn't much that I could say about their performance besides, like, you know, giving them taps.
You don't think they got a little bit fortunate in the way that City's goal got ruled out? Like I feel like this game was always going Liverpool's way. Like at Anfield, there's more pressure on them. I don't think Pep necessarily overthought. Like it just didn't go their way. I feel like City easily win that game. Or no? Thabani, how do you feel?
I don't think so.
I think the game itself was the quintessential Premier League match. Like that is the gold standard for entertainment and high quality football. This fixture itself has been so good. It's like it has been a treat over the last 4 or 5 seasons. The fact Liverpool being in the state that they're in, and City not going there. Like, I expected City to win comfortably, but that's not a shocking result, which is just speaks to like the testament of like the factors that you say, like they're at Anfield. Liverpool had their tails up after that Champions League win. If we're speaking about good fortune, why I say it was the quintessential Premier League match, there is no Premier League match or great Premier League match without controversial refereeing. But I do think that the VAR call was correct. My only issue with it was that we're kind of going into re-refereeing territory because both the shirt pull and the kick on Alisson were missed. And that's what's supposed to happen in real time, but not to make this a VAR show. No, I don't think that Liverpool were fortunate. I think they were defensively resolute. They executed their plan on the day. The concentration levels were so high because they needed to be. And it kind of felt like they turned up for that City game, which is what made it a good game. And to Mvu's point, it's a bit unfair to talk about. I don't think Pep lost that game. I think Liverpool won that game more than Pep or Man City lost that game. But I don't think, in my honest opinion, it's a meaningful result for both Liverpool or City seasons. I think the league table will reflect the quality between the two sides at the end of the season, and that, I promise you, was just a good game with an interesting result. That's how I feel about it.
Okay. I mean, so just think that this result sparks a Liverpool turnaround. We don't think they suddenly go on a run and fight for top four in a few, because they're not that far away from United or Chelsea right now.
Look, points wise, yes, I think Liverpool will never be far away. But we're talking about a team that has had to kickstart their season about 4 times already this season. And they are one injury away from a massive step back. So
But don't you think that United are also just one injury away from a massive step back, considering Liverpool have gotten all of theirs? They still have a few players coming back in a few.
Absolutely. I think that it's both delicate situations, but I think the mental side of both teams is different. I think United are one injury away from having to plug some holes. Liverpool are one injury, but they're still dealing with people's confidence, people settling into the team. You don't know what you're going to get from certain guys, different starting 11s. I think it's just two different mental states. One side is at the beginning of a cycle, and one side is at the end of a cycle. And I think the push-pull between that, I think a bad injury for United, we are better positioned to cope with it than a bad injury for a Liverpool player. If they lose Van Dijk versus us losing Varane, if they lose Thiago again versus us losing a midfielder, like, I feel like United can cope better.
No, that's all reason. That's all reason. I can't necessarily fight you there. But what I will say is this: when I look at Liverpool's fixtures from now until the World Cup, I think that there's room for them to pick up quite a few points. They've got Nottingham Forest over the weekend. They've got Leeds at Anfield. They have a semi game against Spurs at Spurs. And then after that, they have Southampton at Anfield again. I don't see them dropping points in any of those games except maybe the Spurs game. And even then, Spurs away, I don't think that's a bad game to drop points in. I think everyone should be a bit about what this really means for Liverpool. As if they can do this with all these injuries and like being as unstable as they seem to be right now, I think that they might end up taking that spot from Spurs. Well, not from Spurs, from Chelsea or United. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'm too bullish.
I mean, when how many of their players will be going to the World Cup? There's still that. So, you say that people will be.
I mean, they also have a lot of their players injured for the World Cup.
Injured right
kind
now.
Of works for them.
Yeah.
Hey man.
Yeah.
Hey man. Don't say I didn't tell you. When the time comes, don't say I didn't tell you.
I mean, yeah. Liverpool's case is interesting. I think they can go on a run, like you said, because of their fixtures, but I don't think. It can all. It's just 50-50 after this World Cup. Like, you really can't call anything right at this moment in time. But what I don't think after the World Cup, the players would have been rested enough or any of those things for them to come and perform at a very high level and have the confidence to do so. So I think they still might miss out on the top four, but it wouldn't be surprising if they do make it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's Liverpool
yeah.
at the end of the day. For as much slack I give them, like, they're still a good team. Like, there's nothing that can change that. So yeah.
Okay, no, that's fair. That's fair. So then the big game this weekend, Chelsea versus United. I really, really can't pretend to predict that game. Chelsea look, they're even harder to predict now than they were under Tuchel. Don't know what formation they're going to play. You don't know who starts up front. They had a very, very weird game. I watched the extended highlights of Brentford versus Chelsea. I'm not entirely sure how well they played in that game. I think Brentford could have snatched something there. How are you guys feeling about that? What do you think about Chelsea under Potter? Have you been impressed lately? Like, outside of those two games against Milan, how highly do you rate them? Do you think that they look like the real deal?
Not yet. I think they're still in the transition period. That's why you see them experimenting or you see him experimenting so much. There's no clear, like you said, there's no clear. I hate using the word identity for football, but there isn't some form of clear identity right now. I don't think you'll get that before the World Cup. I think now they're just playing for results. Maybe bits and pieces of Potter's game will be in the team, but I think I'm not impressed, but I think I'm content with how they've been. They haven't dropped the ball so much, so I'm more interested. I'm just interested to see how they go about the next few weeks more than anything. I'm not really focusing on their results. I think United beat them this weekend. I hope they do, because what a story that would be with all the headlines from yesterday. But I can't really. I don't have such a deep opinion about Chelsea at this moment in time. They're a hard one to call.
If you had to give us a prediction for this weekend, though, United versus Chelsea,
United win. I hope
Wow.
United win. I hope United win.
Wow.
I don't think you'll ever hear me say that again, but I hope United win. Only because I am such a big fan of Ten Hag. I like how he's been at United, making decisions, hard ones when they need to be made. And I feel like he needs all the luck, because there's so many things that have somewhat been working against him since he's been here. And he's just ridden the waves. So he's rolled with the punches. So I think that game will be bigger than the game that they played yesterday.
Okay, that's big. That's big. Thabani, what are your thoughts on this game against Chelsea, on Chelsea generally?
I think in an ideal world, it should be treated as a must-win game, because from a points perspective, we beat them and we go above them. But from a results perspective, if we can go and say by the time the World Cup comes, if we can say we've beaten Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool, and Chelsea, that's now a side that can say that's a side that's putting their hand up to be in the top four. And like I alluded to last week, we just need to. You wanna be in the fight. You want, when match day 32 comes, you want to know that if you've got Chelsea at home or you've got Spurs away, that you can win those fixtures. And this kind of, to beat Chelsea with no pressure, when I say pressure, points pressure, would be such a big result for these guys. And then to Mvu's point about Ten Hag, I think if he can conjure a win against, I'd say, another tactician. I think Graham Potter is a well-renowned tactician. His sides have a clear way of playing. So if Ten Hag can cook up a victory against Graham Potter's Chelsea, who, like Mvu, I don't really have a well-formed opinion on them. I know they're a good side and they have a good manager, but I can't tell you much about who should do what in that team. But if we can get a result against this Chelsea side, I think before the World Cup, we also have a few quote unquote winnable games, and this just sets you up to be in a very good position by the time that World Cup break by the time the World Cup break comes. And yeah, on a more sentimental note, a win after the Ronaldo thing would be the perfect way to put a full stop in that, because we kind of know what will happen if United A don't win, but B lose or struggle to score. Then Monday's headlines are kind of already written. So United need to win that game for more than just getting 3 points on the board.
A symbolic win. So you know why you need to win. Do you think you will? Score prediction?
I'm going to go bullish. I think Chelsea are 4 on the bounce, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of wins in the Premier League. So, but I do think we can go. Oh yeah, before the draw. Sorry. So that's four wins and a draw. So they're unbeaten in their last 5. I think to go to get a result will take a lot. I do think that this team currently is creating chances, home and away, United, and I think it'll be one of those games where the team that takes their chances better will win. I don't see a clean sheet for either team, but I do somehow see a 3-2 to United. For some reason, I feel like we will concede on the day and we'll have to outscore them to win. So I'm going to go 3-2 United.
Okay, that's big. That is very, very big. So United are back, pretty much. That's what I'm hearing.
Not yet. Not yet. But I do think
that's what it feels like, mate. That's what it feels like. It feels like, I mean, honestly, you beat Arsenal, who were top of the log. You go on to beat Spurs, had like easily could have genuinely scored 4 or so. Then you imagine you go to Chelsea, you win at Stamford Bridge. I don't know if United could ask for a better set of results, honestly.
100%, but United are not back. That's clear. But if you look at all the false dawns under Mourinho, Oli, Ralph, this time, these results, these performances do feel different. There is something going on here that there are real building blocks. This is a real foundation that's being built. And to Mvu's point, we have a manager making decisions, which means he's allowed to get things wrong, and he will. I'll go back to the Newcastle. We shouldn't have drawn to Newcastle. We should have got 3 points from Newcastle. But, from where I'm sitting, this feels like something, but we're not back yet. But why can't we be back in 18 months' time?
Okay. No, that's valid. Hypothetical. I don't want to stay on United for too long. Are you expecting to win the Europa League this year?
Wow.
I think if we don't win the Europa League, a team much better than us must knock us out.
So what, like a Champions League side or Arsenal? What are you thinking about?
I mean, I have no shame saying that if we lose to Arsenal in the Europa League, they're probably ahead of us in their development right now. So it'll have to be an Arsenal, or I don't even want to say Barcelona, to be honest with you. Wow. But it'll have to be a team that's better than us, that beats us on the day.
No, that's big, especially the saying not Barcelona. That's
I don't like that. I don't like that. You guys know exactly what you're doing. I don't like that.
No, I mean, while we're here, we have to discuss the Clasico, because that performance was less than inspiring.
I don't think we do.
It has to be addressed at some point. We don't have to talk about this forever. Just quick, like 3 points from you on that game.
I was right about our defensive frailties, and my reservations that were mocked, and I was told to be. I was told many things. Oh, how can you not be so excited? You guys are doing this. Lewandowski saved your club. All that rubbish has now gone down the toilet. So, one, right about our defensive frailties. 2, Ansu Fati and Dembele should be the starting pair. Rafinha, I don't think he's a bad football player. So don't quote me on this saying that he's a horrible football player or anything like that, but this cross and hope thing is just not working. I don't know what it is that Xavi's trying with having him and Dembele on at the same time, but nothing. Like, you can't have two moments in a game and say, look, it can work because they've had these two moments. They have to be doing things consistently, and they haven't been able to do that. Where I've seen with fights, even Ferran playing on the right, if anything, there's been more signs of that working than playing Rafinha on the pitch at the same time as Dembele. I think my last point would be Xavi has some work on his hands. Yeah, big work. We have our injuries, we get that, but Barca didn't do all that nonsense with these economic levers to be behind Madrid and potentially going out of the Champions League. Things can get very, very grim real quickly. So yeah, and Lewandowski no show in big games. So I think those are my points.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fair. That's perfectly fair. I can understand why you are annoyed at the club right now. I for one don't think that you guys have been like horrible, right? Like even in that game, like your point where you say just because you guys have one or two chances doesn't necessarily mean that you're playing well overall. You have to just keep in mind that goals do change games. Like if Lewandowski had scored, how that game plays out is a little bit different. Like I don't think you guys should be terribly disheartened by the fact that you lost to Madrid at the Bernabeu. There aren't a lot of teams that are going to go there in the world and win. We saw that last season.
Yeah.
I don't like. I think being rather detached from like caring about how well Barca do. For me, it's just like you guys have just thrown these players, have your first choice centre backs fit. You guys are playing PK in way too many games. Like, just to clarify, I want to make sure you don't think Xavi should be going, right? Like, you're happy with him as coach.
Well, I can't say I'm happy, but like, no, I'm not calling for him to be. I'm not calling for him to get the sack.
So then, really, when I ask you how you feel about that game, why are you so like downhearted about like the state of your club? Is the Champions League like hangover that still got you?
Partly, but also I just feel like when you don't want to be right, but you're gonna be right. I know that feeling all too well.
Just not being surprised by your team.
Exactly. Like I had hope, but I'm not surprised that we are where we are right now. Like I didn't really expect us to. Well, I didn't expect so much from us, But when there were signs of us doing really well, it's like, oh wow, okay, things might be good. But yeah, I think that's my feeling now. It's like I'm not super surprised, but it's still very disappointing. And like you were saying that goals change games. I get that, but I feel like we've had too many of those moments in the past few games where, oh, if that went in, it would be so different. Like we have to make things work. Like you have to get the ball in the back of the net, and we haven't been able to. We haven't been doing that at the right times, and we end up playing catch up for most of the games, or the big games at that. Yeah.
So, Thabani, I'm curious, how have you felt about Xavi at Barca? Your club's also to be a new era. Are you as down about like the growing pains that Mvu is, or what do you think about where they are right now?
So I think Barcelona were blown out of proportion in the summer, partly because of obviously their financial issues, but that sort of, I don't think this is a squad. There was never a squad that was built. There are so many. I feel like there's too many players in that team right now, and no clear direction. And what we're seeing as a result is they are up and down because their squad, they don't really have a squad that's going in the same direction. I don't think there's doom and gloom because of the league that they play in. Most teams that they come up against, they are better than in terms of quality. but because they're Barcelona, they also have to play a certain way, and Xavi is their manager. So I just feel like I'm not surprised when they take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Like you say, going to the Bernabeu and losing is not really the worst thing that could ever happen to them, but going out of the Champions League group stages to the Europa League is a disaster. So it feels like they were top of La Liga and going to the Europa League. It feels like that's exactly who they are as a club right now, where they just can blow hot and blow cold. They've got the world's best striker and no defense, in my opinion. They've got a whole bunch of midfielders that are nothing like one another in terms of profile. So I don't know what the best Barcelona XI looks like, but they will still win games. But so yeah, I think Mbu maybe is a bit down because he knows how he's coming from a point where this club has been at the very top. And once you have that image etched in your mind, it's very hard to not look at your club like that and not want them to be there. But at the same time, if we're talking rebuilds, I don't know about this Barcelona rebuild.
That's damning. So you can't see the direction they're headed. You don't really see the progress they made.
I think yes, yeah. To answer your question, 100%. But I do think, unlike in the Premier League or maybe in another league, they will always be fine because they will never. They'll always be fine in the end. I don't think no one is expecting too much of Barcelona in Europe, and I think if Madrid are better than them, then it's fine for them to finish second. Atleti, like, you know what I'm saying. So they'll never get caught out. They'll never rock bottom for them would be like finishing 5th and not qualifying for the Champions League. That's a very different rock bottom.
Even that, I don't think is possible.
Exactly. Rock bottom for a Premier League club. We've seen rock bottom for Premier League clubs. We've seen the pressures. So they will be fine, but not like a real fine, like a Barcelona fine. And I don't know about that.
You mentioned something earlier about possibly playing in the Europa League. Do you think United, as it stands, could give Barcelona for their money?
I think if it comes to, I think that would be a football match where the better team on the day would win. Not because I don't think United would win because they're better than Barcelona, but I don't think Barcelona would win because they're a better team than United. I just think that it's not that I don't rate Barcelona, but I don't like Barcelona at the moment. What is there to like about them if you're not a fan of theirs? Really, what's the pull there? I mean, I look at other clubs around, and you can appreciate what other clubs are doing, and I don't see anything going on at Barcelona that I can say, oh, that's nice, good on them. I know I sound like a hater. I probably am one right now, but that's just genuine how I feel. But if you're asking me, if we played them this weekend, we might lose because of quality.
How?
Big knockouts are on.
Tab, you cut for a second there. Could you repeat what you said?
Do you want me to start from the top?
No. We heard for the most part. Just what you said, if you played them this weekend, you'd lose because of quality, and then you cut after that.
Okay, cool. I think if we played Barcelona this weekend, we might lose because of the quality that they have and just difficult to stop their best players. But give this United team a few more months to develop and ask me the same question when the Europa League knockouts start.
Okay, that's big. That's big. I think Barca would beat you guys every single match week. Doesn't matter where you guys get. The crazy thing is that I do agree with you that there's not a lot to like about them. I just think the quality gap is still just so big that if Xavi is a coach worth his salt, there's no way that they don't beat you guys. Like, I don't know how he would be able to justify that kind of result.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Which of the Premier League Big Six do Barcelona beat right now? If United are one, I want to hear the rest.
Okay, they beat you guys.
With everyone fit. Wait, is this with everyone fit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that they beat United. I think they beat Chelsea. I think they beat Spurs.
You don't think we beat Arsenal?
No.
Haha. Okay. Okay.
What do you mean why not? Because Arsenal is the second best team in the Premier League.
Beating no one.
Sorry?
Beating no one.
What do you mean no one? We've won 9 games. How many of these teams are nobodies? How many nobodies are in the Premier League if we beat no one?
With everyone fit, Arsenal not beating Barca. And
No,
this,
I'm happy that you believe that Barca are better than Arsenal. I'm happy for you. I'm glad that's the
that
school
that
of
was
thought.
that was not the question. With
No,
everyone
no.
fit, with everyone
Yes.
fit,
Yes.
with everyone fit, and that
Yes.
means Marcus Alonso's not playing. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
Barca's playing proper people.
Can
And dog, you can put everyone you want. I think Arsenal are better than Barca right now. I
Hang
really
on.
do.
Can I ask one more question?
Go ahead.
So you think Barca beat United because of the quality gap? Are you saying Arsenal have more quality than Barcelona?
I think we're better coached. We play better. We play through
It's the
them better.
coach.
Sorry?
You saying you beat them because your coach is better? I don't disagree.
Yes.
Is that you're betting
Yeah,
you're betting a two-legged tie on Arteta being able to get more out of Oaks?
Then Xavi, yes, 100%.
Okay, I can hold that.
Yeah. And also, it's unfair to say, it really is. I know it is. But having watched how Barca handled themselves against Inter, I'm not even entirely sure if I want to say Barca would beat a team like Spurs. They don't have as much central creativity as you'd hope they would. And I don't know. I feel like it's easy to nullify Barca. Or at least
Yes.
easier than other top sides.
I agree when Xavi does the nonsense of playing, like not having De Jong, playing Rafinha, and playing Eric Garcia to try and make these passes. Then I completely agree there. But I think if you were to put down what I think would be our best 11, then I'm not so sure. Just backtracking to some of your guys' points. I'm like diehard Barca fan, and I agree with you. There isn't much to like about the club now. Like I go in the games just to watch Pedri right now. You know what I mean? Like there isn't much to like about the club, and it just feels like we're at this stage where we're getting everything we deserve. How can we be in financial ruin, make these economic levers, however, whatever the pronunciation is? We owe players money. We told players, we can't pay you now, or take a salary cut. Then we go splurge in the markets in the hopes that we'll win something. Like that's just poor. Like I'm not proud to be like a fan of a club like that. Like that's just nonsense. You know what I mean? So it just also feels like everything that's happening right now, and I guess the trajectory of the season, because those hopes, people were saying, oh, we'll win the Champions League, we're definitely winning the league before the season had even started. It just feels like we're getting everything that we deserve. So
you are a despondent Barca fan, mate. My goodness, it's really not that bad. Goodness gracious.
no, it's not even. I'm not even saying this like in a deep way. It's just the reality of things, bro. Like we are most likely gonna play. Like Inter have to really, really, really mess up to not go through, and that's a big dip in the season. Whether we like or not, us going out so early in the Champions League changes almost everything. Because I don't think, like you guys have said, I don't think the league was ever that much of a concern. We knew we'd be in the fight until the end. We're still in that fight. But the moment that you're out of the Champions League at such an early stage could do a whole lot of bad things for us. Like, I don't think it should all be looked at so lightly. The reason why so many of those players were signed were to win these competitions, not a rebuild.
No, look, you're right. Look, it's definitely not like a great place you guys are in. The way I see it, though, is that even though I don't know, it's like the nitty gritty of these levers you pulled, I have to believe that there was a world where you guys had anticipated that it's possible you don't go that deep into the UCL this season, right? Especially considering that you got the group of death. Like the way this has happened, it doesn't necessarily mean you guys are absolutely dusted, right? Like you guys are still in the hunt for the league title. If you aren't necessarily going that deep in the UCL in your first full season in the Xavi, it shouldn't be that you guys plan so poorly that means now you are definitely going to be in financial ruin. You have to believe that there's more to your club than that. That ultimately this is just one bad season. and
I think
still a season where you can end up winning the league, another cup. You know?
I think you underestimate how badly run this club has been over the past years. And I guess like Thabani was alluding to earlier, that some of my sentiments is probably because I've seen boss at the top, but there are people that are within the setup that have that still have that carry that arrogance that we are the best in the world. You've seen our press conferences with some of the players and the coaches, and no one's gonna go say, oh, we're not the best or anything like that, but that arrogance is clearly there. And I don't think what I've seen in the media and around those people, that they didn't sign these people to not go and win these competitions. I don't think that was not a part of the plan. I think they were really, really, really. This was like Leeds, like go big, go home, go big or go home. That's how I see it.
You know, Mvu, honestly, thank you because you make me so happy to be an Arsenal fan, mate. Honestly, the troubles that you share, you honestly make my heart lighter, mate. Because my goodness, you guys are down bad. Like I can't even. I'm trying to give the most measured takes I can for your club, and you keep shooting them all down. And maybe ultimately your realism is needed. One more thing I'd like to touch on, Thabani. I think you are personally, in like at least in my eyes, close to being a Serie A expert. What are your thoughts so far this season?
I have a question on Serie A because I'm enjoying it so much this season. And if you look at last season's not only title race, but I'd say top six race, it was so close for so long. And the question I'd like to put forward to you two is Serie A closing the gap to the Premier League in terms of just being such a compelling league week in, week out? Because I feel like at this point, every weekend there's a game to watch at the top. It just feels like in terms of the storylines and how close things are and the level of entertainment. I mean, we've all seen Napoli's exploits in the Champions League, but if you look at their league form, they're still unbeaten. Haven't lost a game. Atalanta haven't lost a game. Not many points separate the top six. And I just feel like is Serie A doing something behind the scenes that we're not paying attention to in terms of just being a really good league again? Because that's how I feel. I genuinely feel like that.
I think you're spot on. I think Serie A is probably the most entertaining league in the top 5 leagues right now in terms of like how tight everything actually is. You've got Juventus in 8th place, Napoli in 1st, and the gap between them is only 8 points. Like they are, it's a great time to be a Serie A fan. I can't argue against you there. I think the saddest thing about Serie A is probably just that that the big stars are never going to be moving there unless they're already in the league. So I think there's a cap in that sense in terms of like how big the league can actually be in comparison to like the Prem and even La Liga. But no, you're spot on. I think it's easily one of the most entertaining leagues right now. Like this weekend is Roma versus Napoli, for example. Like you haven't missed a step. That is without a doubt probably the most entertaining league week to week right now.
And I think
I agree. Oh, sorry, go.
I was just gonna say, I think with the lack of stars, I think maybe they had a cycle where they kind of had to get rid of, well, not get rid of, but phase out the mega star and not have who is the face of Serie A? Who cares? Every weekend there's a game to watch, and it's just so entertaining. And how do you call Roma versus Napoli? how do you call any game that Atalanta playing? Like, it's just, you want to sit and just find out what the result is. And I think we're not that far away from seeing one or two Italian teams cause some big problems in the Champions League. So I'm excited. I'm all in on Serie A right now.
No, I'm glad to hear it, man. Truly. we need more Serie A fans. When you say the club you expect to do something in Europe, I think we're far off from two clubs doing that. Because Inter are meant to be that side, but they look to have taken a few steps back after Conte's departure. I don't really like them at Inzaghi right now, and they've looked very middling.
Weird.
Yeah,
they look very, very weird.
Mm.
And I think even like I think it's them and Juve. Yeah, Juve. I don't know if it's the style of coach that those two teams have. Maybe it sets them into their positions in the log, but they can't also seem to just get really good results. Like I looked. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. Just even like their last 5 fixtures from the top 8 teams, from six to first, most of the teams are unbeaten in their last 5. I think it's only AC and Roma that have one loss.
Yeah,
and then
correct.
the further down you go, you can start seeing that Inter and Juve, who should be fighting up to, like, they're not so far off points wise, but they should be fighting with those guys. Their results are nowhere near the same. So I think like you guys are right. There's something good that's happening in the league. It's just I didn't expect it when most of their star players or big names in the league would have left. You know, Kessie left, Senior left, Skamaka left. Yeah, it's just refreshing. Like Tab said, you know.
I think something that goes unnoticed is that Serie A clubs generally seem to be rebuilding quite well after they sell certain players. I think they do it better than Bundesliga clubs do, for example. Like Dortmund, after losing Haaland, they've kind of, like, they've been unlucky, obviously, with Sebastian Halle with his bout with cancer. But the fact that their best performance striker after that is a 17-year-old Mukoko, as opposed to like a more established attacker, so considering that they went and got Modeste instead, I think, you know, it's a startling difference when you note that Napoli replaced Insigne with Kipchka.
What a signing!
I think small things like that play a very big role in the strengths we see in Serie A right now. Like Atalanta having lost Ilicic to, I don't necessarily think they replaced him with a massive signing. They just found Ademola Lookman and have said that you're going to be our top scorer. They've somehow, you know, unearthed a lot of potential like from him. And honestly, I'm actually hoping that Atalanta find a way back into UCL this season, next season rather, because they are. I don't know how they do it, because, like, in the most respectful way possible, that is a team full of no names. Like, those players aren't players that you'd expect to be starting for any other, like, big side, but they go toe to toe with everyone they come up against.
You know, can I ask you guys something? Just 2 quick questions. One, do you think out of all of the top 5 leagues, Napoli have had the signing of the season from now, like bar Haaland, right? Because that's just a freak show. In terms of fitting in well, playing well, and influencing the results of their respective teams, do you think they've had the best signing? Secondly, like you touched on Lookman now. I think Lookman is still fairly young. Am I correct? Before I answer this question,
he's 25, I think.
Okay, cool. So it kind of ties into what I'm saying. English players have talent, and I think one of the things that they focus on at a young age is just making sure that their players are technically inept. So they're good at shooting, passing, simple things. Now, I think a lot of really, really good English youngsters, obviously, like it might sound daft to say because the Premier League is the league to be in, but a lot of them, if not all of the best ones, should leave leave the Premier League, I think they'll develop a whole lot quicker and become a lot better players than they are. Then they can come back into the Premier League. Do you think that there should be some form of focus among their youth to just, say that you guys need to go elsewhere? It might sound impossible to say, like, because obviously you'd want homegrown talent to stay in the country, but I feel like it would benefit England so much, even at an international stage, if they allow more youngsters to leave and come back. Look at Edwards doing well at Sporting. Lookman's doing well now. I don't think Bellingham does
No,
well.
I definitely hear your point. I think that that English talent would benefit a lot from exploring other leagues. I think the issue
And
is
why do you think so? Like what is it that coaching in the Premier League does that limits these players so much?
I mean,
like, not everyone can be Lampard, Gerrard, Scholes. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, I think it's just the like the way they come up. I guess like in English teams, like a lot of the players come from like from academies like close to where they stay. So I don't think that they are limited in the sense that they don't get a chance to grow. I think that they are just used to familiar conditions, whereas like other like foreign players are always moving. Like very few of not a lot of them who end up playing for national teams are players that only stayed at like one side or in one area. Like, I think there's just an adaptability that you really benefit from more so than like actually leaving the country. It's just a different experience. Like I like to think it maybe rounds you off more as a person than anything it would do for you technically, depending on the league you go to. Because if we know that Serie A, for example, is quote unquote a step down in quality, like you look, if you just end up scoring, let's say 15 league goals in Serie A, I don't think that necessarily means he'd get an England call up, for example. There'd be question marks about why he couldn't do it when he was at Fulham, or why he couldn't do it when he was at Everton because he came from their academy. Like I don't know. It's a very hard question to answer because how much you truly benefit from leaving the country from case to case. I think someone like Jude Bellingham has obviously benefited from doing that, but he might just be exceptionally talented. Like there's nothing that says he wouldn't have become the same player had he stayed in the English side. Whereas you get Sancho, who obviously benefited from leaving, but he's come back to United now, and it looks like he might have been in a better position had he stayed at City perhaps and stayed under Pep. Like
or even going back to City, or just even going to La Liga. Like, just this rush to go back to the Premier League, I think kills some of these guys.
I think it definitely does. I think Sancho's one is just it's very late. It's very late. I don't want to spend too much time expressing my feelings on Sancho. I think I'd come across as harsh. But no, but like I think yeah, there's a lot of merit in looking towards other leagues for English players. There's Tomori as well, who's benefited from that move. Smalling looks like a much more established professional in Serie A than he did. It feels like United, he'd still be a bit part player there. Whereas now he's a mainstay for his side, and Roma look like they might be a Champions League side next year. I don't know. It's interesting. It's really hard to like to justify it, because when you're in the best league, you always want to prove yourself there before anywhere else.
Yeah.
But I guess players also need to look at what would benefit them the most as individuals, as opposed to the reputational boost that would come from playing in the Prem.
Tab?
I agree with most of what I agree with. To answer your question, I do think the players would benefit. So if we're talking about benefit, yes, but I will never argue against the rationale of wanting to shine in the Premier League, especially as a young English talent, because of obviously what comes with that. So I do think it's a leap of faith when you do, and you can be Jude Bellingham, but you can also be, Reece Nelson. Where's Reece Nelson now? There's a few other guys we could probably pick on. Like Lookman, yes, has ventured out, but that's kind of he's 25 now. So it's not really like he's not necessarily a young talent that's that's left the borders. He pushed for a bit, and he kind of it didn't work out the way he would have wanted to. But then you can look at a guy like Damari Gray, who had enough talent to probably go be a really good player somewhere else, but stuck it out, and eventually he was picked up by another club, and he's fine. You know, he's a solid Premier League talent. So I'll never blame a young English guy or with English ties for wanting to stay in the Premier League. But I do think that a bit more, I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, just a bit more. If you apply a bit of thinking and just venture out the borders, then there are benefits for you. So yeah.
Chuba Akpom was another one that I was thinking of.
Oh Lord.
No, you thrown it back too far. Is he still professional at this point, mate?
Bro.
You're bringing up relics of the past.
I thought he was next up. Like,
what did you
anyways
see? Like a few training clips? No, you're bones. That's on you. That's
man was making judgments off Emirates Cup or whatever that thing's called.
No,
guys, Akpom was good. Akpom was good.
We can do this another episode where we talk about our failed wonder kids. But please, sir, I think we provided enough. Any final thoughts? My main one is that I want to give a big shout out to Luke Shaw. I am thoroughly impressed by the way he stepped up in the face competition. Tyrell Mlalazi looks like he's set to be his understudy for quite a while. Luke Shaw has shocked me with how well he's played recently. Vu, any major reflections?
Saka. Like the more I watch him, like his decision making, like he's just maturing at an incredibly rapid rate. One that I didn't expect him to. I think like you probably had more foresight over his abilities, but I just think he's destined for something. He should have either won or been in the top 5 of the what is that?
The Copa Trophy. Yeah.
Gavi was not the guy to win. He was not the guy to win.
That was criminal, honestly.
Like Jude, Musiala, Saka, I think were the 3 obvious choices. I don't know. I've never thought Gavi would be even in the top 10. So that's my thought.
Okay, Thabani.
Tough one this week, but we can't do a whole show without acknowledging and congratulating our boy Benz. I think what a deserved Ballon d'Or when you just reflect on the season that he had. The fact that when last, like, I feel like it's the first, other than the one that Lewandowski was robbed of, but it just felt so sure for so long. And at his age and the career he's had and just everything that he's been through and that he's done, just seeing him hold that Ballon d'Or, and like he put on his page, that was the people's Ballon d'Or. They were just that it was so right for so many people, and that was a moment that I was glad I was able to be witness rather.
This guy, saying it like he was there.
Because truly, you truly to chuckle at this man. He's right though. This like the way he put it is perfect as well. It did feel like the people's Ballon d'Or. I don't think there's been a Ballon d'Or winner that everyone has wanted it for in the same way for quite a while.
Yeah, what a season, bro. Like, and I think he just for all like the slander he's had, last season just encapsulated like how good of a player he is. His game is very much complete. Shout out to Benz. Yeah.
No, truthfully. No, in closing, I'm gonna offer my United Chelsea prediction. I'm gonna go boring. I think that game ends in a draw. I don't think we get any conclusive results or anything we can really draw from that.
No.
Maybe it could be. It really could be. I don't see United going as attacking as they were. I don't think they're going to look to dominate. And I think that Potter's going to approach it rather cautiously. There's no Reece James. Like there's a lot up in the air for Chelsea. I think above all else for them, it's a must not lose game. So that's my prediction. And overall, I just want to say this is another week we're also the top of the log, and it really feels quite amazing to me. And Laz, thank you for another episode. We hopefully will be returning with another one fairly soon. Thabani, Mvu, thanks for joining in.
Peace.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.